editorial coordinator at Daily Sabah, one of the country's leading news organizations. You'd say it probably number one, Mehmet. Were you working in journalism at the time? Because when a coup happens in any country, the coup leaders always want to control the media. What were your memories of that night?
Well, of course, that night, I mean, in 2016, we had, initially when it happened, I was like, well, it's 2016. Are we going through another coup? Of course, I was working at Daily Sabah at the time. Remotely that day I was working, but we carried on our duty until the next day when the things were actually starting to clear up in terms of stopping the coup itself. But of course, as we are working professionally, at the same time you reflect on your personal lives, you reflect about what will happen to your loved ones, you reflect about, you think about what will happen to this country. Because traditionally when a coup happens, historically as we know in political terms or political history, the aim of a coup is to overthrow the government. I think there is a stark difference between the July 15 coup and the traditional coups that we have witnessed in other countries or previously in Turkey. As you know, Turkish political history has suffered several times from these coups. And the difference for me is that this coup wasn't just targeting the democratically elected government. It targeted the state itself. I see this coup attempt as an invasion attempt because FETO Gülenist terror group, as they established themselves over the years, they became a very useful tool in the hands of the foreign intelligence services. And I think the fact that we believe the command and control was coming from the outside makes us believe that this was an attempt to actually invade Turkey, Turkish democracy, overthrow Turkish democracy. As in the previous coups, yes, the democratically elected governments were overthrown, and Turkey suffered a lot from that. But during July 15 coup attempt, the parliament itself was bombed. I think there is a big difference between how we know coups and to put this coup into context. The aircrafts were bombing its own citizens, not just political figures. The soldiers were targeting the Turkish citizens, not just trying to control the government elected officials. So there's a huge difference that needs to be understood for our viewers. I think those who have come to know FETO with July 15, there's much to uncover, much to unravel, and discover that this group wasn't just an organic establishment that was trying to, within military, that was trying to, due to differences, overthrow the government. This organization had, or terror group, the terror network, tried to establish itself over 4 decades and infiltrated not only in government institutions, into bureaucracy, but even in NGOs, in private sector, by exploiting different areas of the society. Education was one of them, religious sentiments are another, bureaucracy and the hierarchy in the bureaucracy was one of them. Private institution, private sector suffered a lot from this terror group. So that difference must be understood for our international viewers when we are trying to understand what happened on July 15, why the people resisted going out on the street after President Erdogan made that call. Because if it was just to overthrow the government, of course people will still, Turkish public is very strong when it comes to holding on their democratic will. They are willing to...
Turnout in elections shows that Turkey is one of the most democratically engaged countries in the world. I want to ask you, Mehmet, if you think maybe the coup plotters had underestimated the public reaction. Did they realize that they would be faced with so many people that actually for the coup to succeed, they'd have to kill all of those civilians?
I think they definitely underestimated not only the state power still that had evolved, and as they were already trying to clean out themselves from this FETO group. But at the same time, I think the biggest underestimation, miscalculation, was people's willingness to hold on to their state, to their democracy, as they saw this invasion attempt, something that is beyond just political differences. So for that reason, people didn't think twice when they went out on the street after President Erdogan's call. They put their lives on the line. They stood in front of the tanks. They stood in front of the soldiers or the members of FETO that tried to open fire on them, right? So this shows that I think for the Turkish public, there is, of course, like in every society, there's political differences. But one thing that unites us is that willingness to unite against any sort of invasion, and the other is to hold on to our democratic rights. So we hold that very dearly, and I think this is something that the Turkish public throughout the history, they've shown that they are not willing to give up that advancement that they have gotten compared to many other countries in our region.
Was there a big purge of the army after the failed attempt?
Of course. I mean,
how difficult would it have been to find out who is a member of the terror group and who's not?
Adnan, one of the most difficult thing about fighting or trying to cleanse the system from this group is that they are not, they don't vocally or verbally voice themselves or identify themselves.
Exactly.
Look, Turkey has been fighting PKK terrorist organization for 4 decades. It's very easy to identify someone that is affiliated with the PKK. They voice it. But when it comes to this secretive cult-like group, it's not hard to, it's not easy to identify. Hence why still, even today, there are operations against this terror group. And I think it will still continue. There is still, here and there, we see the operations against people that are still on duty in different institutions within the government. So the fact that they established them, they were very good at, effective in hiding their own motivations, hiding their own, the motives that drove them to carry out this coup attempt. They were very successful in portraying themselves as an institutional movement, as a religious movement, or in other terms. So for that reason, it was very hard to expose the reality about this group for a long time. But the fight and struggle against FETO is still continuing.
Absolutely. You think of Baader-Meinhof in Germany or ETA in Spain, the Red Brigades in Italy, how long it took to destroy those groups. Mehmet, thank you very much for coming in. I know you'll be with TRT World for the next few hours. Really appreciate it.